Do you feel like you have footwork down, but you still can't seem to climb those V3s? Well, in this video, we're gonna talk about 2 other contributing factors that can be holding you back. But first, let's do a quick evaluation of your footwork to make sure there aren't any little tweaks that you should be making. To do this, either have a friend help you or take a video of your climbing. I actually recommend both. If your friend can take a video of your climbing, that's fantastic because then you can get their perspective and your perspective. The first thing we're gonna look at is your foot precision. When you make contact with a hold on your foot, is your toe making contact with the part of the hold that needs to be made, or do you tend to be moving your foot around a little bit before setting down? Another thing that we're looking out for is the sound that your foot makes when it makes contact. The more precise your feet are, the less noise it produces. So if you are hearing a big banging sound every time you use your foot, it's likely that your footwork needs help with precision. Okay, I've got a mic with me so I can show you this next part. I'm gonna put the mic on my foot so you can see how loud and how quiet you really can be. There's a super easy fix for this, and it's by doing a drill called quiet feet, also known as ninja feet, you may have heard it. And this is when you're going to be as quiet as possible with your feet on each route. And you can do this drill on 1 or 2 routes per session, and you're gonna see improvements really quickly. Another quick thing we're gonna look at when it comes to your footwork is your body position. Your feet dictate where your hips are, and your hips dictate where your body position is, which is the most important thing in climbing. And there's a couple of things you can do to evaluate this. Probably the easiest is looking at your arms. Are you bending your arms a lot to make the next move, or are your arms staying relatively straight? If your feet are in the right position and your hips are in the right position, your arms are likely to be straight for the majority of any climbing route. In addition to your straight arms, it might be worth looking at, are you doing things like flagging and drop knees? Both of these are footwork techniques, so it is something that you should be looking at. And if you aren't doing those things, then I would look at some of my videos where I talk about flagging and I talk about drop knees as I go through how you should do them and drills that you can do to develop those skills. Now that we've done that quick evaluation, maybe you have a couple of things that you should be working on while you're climbing. Let's talk about 2 other contributing factors that go into climbing V3s. One of these items, or maybe both of them, is what's holding you back from that V3 send. The first one on here is strength. Now, full disclosure here, I was climbing V3s before I could even do 1 pull-up, and I was climbing V5s before I could do 2 pull-ups. However, now that I've gotten stronger, I realized that V3s would have been way easier if I did have more upper body strength, more core strength, and more leg strength. So let's talk about a couple of easy ways to develop that strength. Probably my favorite way to develop upper body strength is by doing a drill called lock-offs, and this is where you're going to climb each route and lock off between each move. What I found is essentially you're doing a bunch of mini pull-ups, but because you're climbing, it might be a little bit more fun, or at least it was more fun for me. Plus, it helps engage your core since you still have to push into your feet and hold your body up with your core while you're making the movement. Even just doing this once a week, you're going to notice a huge improvement in your pulling strength. Now, pulling strength is only half of the battle. The other half is your leg and core strength, but let's focus specifically on your core strength. You could do a core workout, which I highly recommend as well, at least once per week. I've noticed since I started implementing a core workout, my core tension is much better and it makes it easier for me to hold my body position. But another thing that you can do if you don't like exercises, you can do what's called toe taps, where you're going to tap your toe on the next hold before moving your hands to it. It's a challenging drill and it's really good on your core, so I highly recommend this drill. I'm actually thinking of doing a challenge related to this where I want to see how strong I can get with my core doing just this drill. But the problem is I actually enjoy core workouts, so I don't think I can do a proper experiment. And that being said, if you plan on doing this as a challenge to see how strong you can get with toe taps, please let me know. I want to hear your progress. I want to see how it went. Strength may very well be the thing that's holding you back, but there's one other thing I want to talk to you about that may also be a determining factor for why you can't send those V3s. and that is endurance. You may have incredible strength where you can do pull-ups really fast, but the fact is you might not be able to do that pulling movement to get to the next hold enough times to make that V3. Luckily, building your endurance isn't that hard. There are a couple of drills that you can do. Probably the most common one is called 4x4s, and that's where you find 4 routes and repeat those routes 4 times in a row without any break. This is a really hard drill and you will feel pumped after it. In fact, sometimes I'll do this drill on easier routes and find that they become almost impossible by the time I'm done, just because my body is so exhausted. But once you hit that hard point and you continue training, that's when you're building your endurance. Another one you can do, which is probably more popular on rope climbing, but definitely applicable in bouldering as well, is called up downs. And that's when you're going to be repeating a route over and over again, where you climb up and then you climb the route back down, and you climb up and then you climb the route back down, and you repeat that as many times as possible. You should be able to test yourself and see where you're at, as well as a good way of training that endurance. So definitely try out this drill. Of course, I would be silly if I didn't recommend lattice laps. If you have access to a lattice board, I highly recommend that you do laps around the lattice board. The more laps you do, the harder it gets. But a nice thing about this is it's relatively easy on your fingertips, and you can adjust the angle of the wall. Endurance takes a little bit more time than strength does to build, so be patient with yourself. This is a long-term thing. Of course, the more focus and the more training you do on endurance, the faster you'll see those results. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. It really helps me out. And comment below what you think is your limiting factor of climbing V3s.